Hello everybody. Better late than never. I had a little bit of problems with my stream connecting and stuff like that, but it looks like we're okay. Just a bit late. And Wrench, hello, see you there, and DH Pilot One and Dan. Also, hi to you guys. I'll be talking about a little bit of military stuff in my basement. Yeah, so the other day, like I always say, it's like I was thinking about what's my future as a YouTuber, and I noticed that a lot of these guys that they start YouTube channels and then hey, I'll just self-publish a book on Amazon and I'll get some money rolling in and I'll promote my book and stuff like that. So it's just reading some comments here. But yeah, so I was like, I don't really have that many like super awesome stories to tell about people, or I don't know if I could write a fiction book or even I mean, I'm pretty good at instructing people how to fly, but there's a million books out there on that. So it's like I was like, but I have worked with a lot of people, whether it was at the airport or in different machine shops or even other jobs that I've had, where there's like these guys got incredible stories, and I remember quite a few of them. So it's like, what the heck? I'll just talk about today. It got me thinking about these guys I used to work with, and then I was like, okay. And some of these guys, it was, and other people I used to deliver liquid oxygen to people that were using it therapeutically. Oh, geez, back in about 1990 or so, and so there was still some World War II vets that I was delivering to, and they would tell a few stories here and there, and some of them were pretty funny, and some were not so funny. It was war, right? So I was trying to think, but which one out of the branches? I'm going to leave the Marines out of this because the Canadians don't have the Marines per se. So you got your Army, your Air Force, your Navy. What's who has the best stories here? So I'm gonna rate them, and I'll tell you why. Now this is my own personal opinion, and so if I ever do write some kind of book, I'll base it on someone else other than my boring life. Okay, we're gonna start off with number three. And so, what is the okay? So, here we go. Who has the best stories? We got the Navy, we got the Army, we got the Air Force. We're going to start off. We're going to go three, two, one. All right. Drum roll, please. And some people are not going to like this. As far as the good stories, Air Force comes in third, I got to say. And I'll give you reasons why. Okay. Each one of these, I'm going to go through all three branches and I'll give you the my reasons why. Okay. And okay, the problem with the Air Force, and they don't have the good stories, it's because it's just too fun. All the all the stories are really, all the real stories are just boring. It's like, oh yeah, that was a great plane to fly. Oh, that was awesome. It's like, okay, that's not I guess maybe if you're like dogfighting and stuff like that, or I see like news reports of, and even I know a guy that was in the Air Force and he's doing some stuff in the Middle East, and it's like, oh yeah, take off from Qatar, go blast off some missiles, come back, take a shower, crack a beer, get 8 hours of sleep, and it's just like, okay, that's not really. Uh, I mean, it's pretty good life. A lot of work to get there, though. But I mean, you're still like shooting people. So, but anyways, it's like okay, Air Force is a little too fun, and there's also the very common theme of all things flying. So maybe I'm just a little bit too used to it, where you just hear about, oh yeah, the weather got bad, and that's like all pilot stories end up being like that. Oh, then the visibility got worse. And then the ceiling got lower. Then the temperature got lower. And no, now I started picking up some ice. And then the engine started running rough and I landed and everything was fine. So it's like, yeah, they're all kind of like that. And then the other one was now not so much for the pilots, but I knew another guy that was in the Air Force, and he said it was just really boring. Now he wasn't in like World War II wartime or anything like that, but basically I knew this guy, I asked him. He's got the same birthday as me. He's the exact same age as me. So haven't been in touch with him for a while, but he joined the Air Force, and I met him when he just got out. And I said, why'd you join the Air Force? He says, well, I saw Top Gun, so I joined the Air Force. It's like, okay. And yeah, so he got hired. He wasn't flying or anything like that, but he worked setting up I remember the one time he told me that he had this one job that they set up. It was like a portable generator, like a diesel generator, just in the middle of nowhere, and up in the wintertime, up in the Arctic. And like they dumped him off there with this generator. And their job was to sit there and just make sure the generator runs for the communications equipment. And so he just like top it up with diesel fuel every once in a while. He just sat out in the Arctic for like a week, topping up this thing with diesel fuel. So it's kind of like, yeah, not exactly the the most exciting story in the world. So we're gonna go for number two, and once you hear about number two, you're gonna figure out what number one is. So number two is okay. Well, number two is the Army. There we go. That's the second best stories that I've ever heard, and that I consider good stories. It's depending on what your personality is like or what your interests are. Stories, artwork is all subjective. So this is my own opinion. And so what else we got here? The Army. Okay. So from what I've heard, guys, even in the reserves and stuff like that, and it's probably everywhere in the military, but I've heard it mostly from the Army. There's lots of waiting where you just wait around and they say, okay, you sit there. Okay, I'm sitting here. And then that's it. And then, okay, if you see anything, get on the radio or whatever, it's a lot of it is like just waiting around. And then also we'll say the other stuff there. Okay. And not surprising. Okay. They also do in the Army lots of marching. And that's not really it's not really all that exciting. And these guys, they, wait around and then, okay, go do a 10-mile hike and put this pack on your back and, go walk through this river. Yeah, but it's freezing. I don't care. Get through the river. You get hypothermia. It just kind of like, a lot of marching around. So it's not really that exciting. But the thing is, the Army guys, those are the ones when they actually do go to town. It's they're getting shot at and stuff. So that I don't like that. I'm kind of a hippie at heart, and I believe that the military history should stay in the history books. We shouldn't be doing anything with our military other than fighting off foreign invaders. But that's my own personal thing. And then, so the other thing is, but even though I don't like it when people are getting shot at, it does make it for a good story, though, and it's not, for people that I've met that were World War II veterans and stuff, a lot of them were just really tight-lipped about it. There's a lot of PTSD, but the thing is, those are dramatic stories. That's why you got like movies like Platoon or Saving Private Ryan. Like those are like brutal stories, but they're still good. And they're a little more exciting, kind of in a bad way, than the Air Force. So I guess you figured it out by now. Number one, best stories from the guys I've worked with are from the Navy. So. And there was it didn't matter who I was talking to, whether it was a World War II Navy vet, peacetime vets, or peacetime members of the Navy. I've worked with a bunch of them. And so there's kind of like all of their stories, like from all of them, all years, all ages, all wartime, non-wartime. And it's kind of kind of a tradition there a bit. But there's always a lot of booze stories. Oh yeah, we got our rum, and then boom, something happened, right? So those are like that'll make you. It's not as blood and gory as the army stuff, so that's kind of funny. It can be, and a little tragic. I'll tell you just a couple as an example. Uh, and then there's usually some chicks involved there, whether whether it's some long lost girlfriend or something or girls that they're buying. There's always something pretty shocking and funny about that. And the other one there too that is I think it's funny, but I know it's not funny to them. Let's get my eraser out here. Okay, where were we here? All right, get that up back over there. And usually all the stuff that involves the booze and the chicks, there's some sort of punishment that gets that happens to him. And then like another guy, he'd get his punishment, and then he'd say, "Oh yeah, Captain, I'll get back at you," and then he'd get more punishment. So they eventually learn their lessons. But yeah, so the example there of for the Navy is where are we here? The booze. Okay, so just as an example, there was a guy I worked with at a galvanizing plant here in Windsor, and his name is John. I forget his last name now. This was going back a few years. Geez, probably 30 years maybe or so. Getting old. So yeah, so I was working with this guy John, and he was kind of a different cat. He was in the Navy, and he actually taught me a lot. This older guy, because I got hired through this temp agency to work at this galvanizing plant, and they had this big tour from the big shots were coming through, and they wanted to clean up the whole plant and paint it, make it look all nice. And if you've ever known Navy guys, they know how to make things spick and span. So we were using this like heavy degreaser stuff, just inhaling this stuff. And this guy's like, big deal. And I'm like, this is terrible, man. And he's like, there's nothing. And then, yeah, he had this funny hand too, because when he was, some people would call him the Claw, because let's see if I can give you, I got a coffee cup here. All right. So this guy, John the Claw, his hand, because after he got out of the Navy, he was out on the West Coast, and he thought, I'll go make a bunch of money as a lumberjack. So he, I guess his chainsaw, it kind of kicked on him, and they have the chainsaw is tied to a rope or bungee or something like that. So anyways, it fell down, bounced back up, and then it whacked his hand with the blade. So his thumb didn't work, and then this finger here was straight, and then these two fingers didn't move. So he could only kind of move with his index finger like that. But his hand was like, I think it was like that. Anyways, he could put a coffee cup just like this, and he'd just be sitting just like talking with his coffee cup. He's not even holding it. That's just, he had a built-in coffee holder, and then he'd work like this and mop and clean and stuff. So anyways, that was kind of a funny guy. He's probably dead now. He's pretty old at the time. So, and yeah, so that was that. So John was telling me about what was his funny story? It was so he said he was on Antigua, and so his ship was there, and like that's what all these stories are. These guys are cooped up on a ship or in a submarine back when Canada had submarines, and then you're in there for a few months, and you go on shore leave in the Caribbean, great weather and cheap whorehouses or whatever, and then they just go nuts. So they rented this little Jeep, him and his buddies, in Antigua, and Gua. Okay, Jim, I see you there, like guano. Ha ha ha. Okay, Antigua. And so he's in Antigua, and they rented this Jeep, and they were driving around, and they got the paid for insurance for it and stuff. They thought they're all boozed up because he said you could go to the what was it? There was a rum factory there, and you can get like a gallon of rum for like $2, and then just get a straw and sit on the beach. They would just like s- drink this rum on the beach for like $2. Then they get all sloshed, and then so they thought it was a really great idea that because they had the insurance on the Jeep that it'd be cool. There's like these kind of bigger hills there. They thought they'd just run the Jeep off a hill and then they get a taxi and go back to the ship, and they were leaving the next day. So the guys are all going towards the hill and they jumped off and they rolled on the ground. And this Jeep went off the edge of the cliff, but they didn't know that there was like the main generating power station at the bottom of the cliff there. So the Jeep went into the power station and like knocked out power to like half the island. And so they got back to the ship, and they thought, oh, cool, we got it. We got away with this. The ship leaves in the morning. And then I guess the Antigua police were like looking for who did this, and like they rented the Jeep in their name and everything. So apparently the Canadian Navy wasn't allowed to go back to the island for a few years after they had to kind of get that all arranged and worked out. But yeah, so then the other one there was about okay, then so going back to so there's my booze one. They're all drunk, and then they crash this Jeep. The one about the chicks is there's this one guy that anytime he would see some car that was done really flashy, or someone was like, so anytime there was like a whole bunch of wild colors, he would say, yeah, that looks like a San Juan cat house. And so like he'd always say that, oh yeah, it looks like a San Juan cat house. So I was and then he told me a story about when he was in the Canadian Navy. They go to San Juan and he'd go to the cat house. So I guess one time he was saying that he got drunk, went to the cat house, and he woke up and he was looking around. He couldn't find his pants. So, anyways, he said, but he lost his wallet, his military ID, like everything. And he was looking around the room, but he wasn't sure if he owed anybody any money because it was like, I guess it was like a bar downstairs and the cat house is upstairs. So he didn't know if he owed anyone any money. So he said he snuck out in the morning, and so he snuck out in the morning. He's in his underwear running down the street in San Juan, and he made it back to the ship. And I guess he had I don't know where he got pants after that, but it was like, yeah. So, anyways, that was. I'm just thinking, yeah, that was he had more stories too. And then okay, now we're getting to he actually got punished. That guy, Frank was his name, and yeah, he said that he actually what was it? He did some time like here in Windsor. There's the old Armories building. Now it's part of the university. It's the music building, but before it was the Canadian Army, the Armories. It was an old building, and they would have they'd have all the rifles and everything, and park some trucks in there, and just it'd be where the different units were had their offices there and everything. I was in the band at that. I played in the Army band there for a little bit down at the Armies, but I never do it. But he told me that they actually have in the basement there, or they had, it was a brig, so you could, or like a jail basically. So I don't know how he worked it out, but he managed to do his punishment time in the basement of the Armories, and he said it wasn't fun. It's like and obviously just like so it was yeah, because even when I was in the army, when I was playing in the military, the band there for a bit, there was the like it like right from day one, they said like, oh, if you screw up, you're going to Edmonton. So it was like that's where the main military jail is in Canada, is out in Edmonton. So you didn't want to go to Edmonton. Why? I don't know. It's supposed to be bad, I guess. So, anyways, Frank ended up. I don't know if he had a choice or not, but he ended up doing his time in the brig in the basement of the Armories, and it was basically just a jail cell with bars and a cot, and I think it had a head there too. But that's Navy talk for a toilet. So, anyways, he said that when he was down there doing his punishment, that you could you had to be on your feet all day. Basically, you got 8 hours of sleep, and then after that, you're standing. No, you weren't standing at attention. Was it stand at attention, at ease, and stand easy? Okay, so he was standing easy all day, which means that your feet can't move, but you can move everything else. And but he said by like the end of the day, he had to be standing basically on his feet, unless he's using the head. And that was it. He just stood there all day, and then okay, time to go to bed. And he said it's like his feet were killing him, his knees were killing him, his back was killing him. Like it was basically torture, you know. So I like to see everybody in here. I'm kind of reading a little bit as you're going by here. And so, anyways, Frank did some time there, and yeah, he had all kinds of cool stories about that. And what was another one? He said he was like he was painting. He was like he said he had this little scaffold. He was hanging off a rope painting the smokestacks, funnels. I think he used to call them. And funnels, is that what the Navy people call them? But anyways, he's painting the smokestack there, and the guy he'd lower down a rope, and the guys would like they'd send him up like a 6-pack of beer, and then like he'd be up there painting and drinking and painting and drinking, and he was throwing all the cans up in the top in the in the smokestack. So, and I guess when when they're in the port, and then when they fire up the engines, they got to build up some pressure and they blow the stack. And then he said it was kind of funny because they're all standing around and they fire up the engines and it starts raining beer cans. So, anyways, I think he got in trouble for that one too. But yeah, anyway, so good stories that were not so sad, we'll say, compared to the Army. So there we go. Here are the best stories before I go to your who's number 3, Air Force. I'm thinking it's just too fun to be really interesting, but I like fun. And then Army, it's another thing about the Army, it's like I guess in parentheses, the guys that I've worked with that were in the Army, they had the most swearing, the most profanity comes from the Army. Navy swears the next, and then Air Force swears the least. Okay, Navy. Oh yeah. So what do we got here? Getting shot at. That's kind of brings it down a notch. And so there we go. And booze, chicks, and punishment in the Navy. Always good for a story. If you're working away degreasing machines, that was another thing too. John was really good at mopping floors. Guys in the Navy apparently can mop like no one else. And so I'm pretty good at mopping floors now because of John there. Okay. And we'll just go through here a little bit and see if there's any questions. Oh yeah, and then Wrench, yesterday you had a question that I missed. It was you were asking if there was any or like any contamination on the plane that could be possibly helpful. I did a little bit of research on that. I couldn't really find anything, and just my pilot brain says I don't think there's anything really good that it would either be negligible or contamination would be bad. So it's either negligible or bad, but nothing to be beneficial. Okay. And I like seeing all these little all the little comments. Hey, Harold Cheeseburger, haven't seen you in a while, man. Thanks for coming back. And Jim's around here too. DH Pilot 1. Okay. What else we got here? Okay, and I don't know. There's not really a whole lot of questions that you could ask. Hey, Rob Reiner is in here. A good friend, Rob Reiner, is here. That's good. Well, Rob Reiner, his nickname used to be the Claw because he could hold 5 donuts in one hand without crushing them. There we go, man. That's why he's such a good director. And there we go. Greg McNeely. Hey, Greg. Okay. What else we got here? Okay. And what do we got here? Oh, Vanessa Katie's here too. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I acknowledge everybody for showing up. You know, it's like if I kind of think about it as if someone comes over to my house and they're in my living room, I might as well say hi, right? So you're in my workshop, so hi everybody, and Dan too. So okay, so there we go. That is pretty cool. Now? Let me see if we have. I don't. Yeah, I don't think I've ever met anybody that was in the Marines. No, the only thing that I do know, I knew a Vietnam vet. He was a Canadian guy that joined the. He had dual citizenship, so He joined up the American Army right at the end of World War, right after he was done high school here in Windsor. He had dual citizenship, so he went to talk to a recruiter over in Detroit, and he was a friend of the family kind of thing. And this guy said, "Oh yeah, you should join the army here, and you can we'll just you're Canadian, so that's okay. You're not getting drafted. It's the Americans that are getting drafted for Vietnam and stuff. I'll put in a good word. We'll get you over to Germany. That's another thing too. Non-wartime, it's like army stories. It's like, yeah, we got drunk in Munich. So anyways, he was thinking, great, I'm a teenage kid out of high school. I'm gonna go over to Europe. That's pretty cool. So he went over there, joined up, did his basic training, and then they sent him home for Christmas. And they said, okay, after that, come on back. And he's expecting, okay, now I'm going to get stationed over in Germany. So then after that, he got back to wherever it was. I forget where he did his training. They said, oh, no, you're going for hot weather training in California and San Diego. After that, you're going to Vietnam. And this guy was like, oh, I thought this guy told me I'm going to Germany. It's like, no. So he did a tour in Vietnam, and he said that the Marines, if you were going to be in the States and you wanted to join something, he would say join the Marines because they're extremely disciplined. And he said that basically their amount of brainwashing was incredible. That once you're a Marine, like, they brainwash you so well that it's just like you can find a guy that's like 70 years old and he's still a Marine, still got the same haircut, still just polishing his boots, like. So anyways, what was I talking about? That's the only thing I know about the Marines is that they're extremely disciplined, and I bet you they go nuts just just like the Navy guys. Actually, the Marines are kind of Navy-ish. Well, who knows? Okay, so that's about it. What have we got here? 26 minutes. Cool. So I'm glad everybody showed up here today. And yep. Okay. Oh, and Wrench was kind of asking here. He says, I guess the military no longer produces enough pilots for the airlines. Yeah, there's not. It's not like it used to be. The air forces all over the NATO countries have, since at the end of World War II, everybody had a gigantic air force, and it's just slowly been shrinking. And yeah, there's not. And the commercial or like airliner traffic has been like growing and growing and growing. So yeah, there's military. Some guys, I don't know. Yeah, basically, it's like, I mean, if you're going to be doing military stuff in the Air Force, it's I think you got to really, really want to be in those fighter jets or fly those helicopters 20 feet off the ground or 10 feet off the treetops. You got to really want to do that, I think. So if flying is your bag, and you don't care about getting into a big fast jet, then you'd probably be better off not being in the Air Force to get taught how to do that. A buddy of mine he's in the Air Force, and haven't talked to him in a little while, but he was just waiting for training forever. But he ended up being an instructor on the Hornet, so it paid off for him, but it was a long haul. So anyways, okay, and Adam, hello and goodbye. Well, Adam Thomas is here. I got to split. Actually, I'm kind of done. So thanks for showing up, everybody. And there we go. Like and subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll catch you next time, Adam. Okay, thanks for watching. Oh, wait a minute. What day is today? Today's Wednesday. Okay, so I'll be back on Friday. Hopefully not too late. I don't know. YouTube just screwed up today. I usually like to be right on time at noon. But that was YouTube's fault. It wasn't my fault. And okay. And yeah, so we'll shut her down. I'll be back on Friday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. I got to get my point in there. And thanks for watching. Bye.